Joe Theismann, legendary quarterback in the NFL ranks at Notre Dame as well. Joe Theismann, welcome back to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, sir. I hope you're doing well.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it.
Joe, I want to spend some time, obviously, picking your brain about a lot of different things, but I know the respect that you have for Coach Nick Saban and winning another championship here in Tuscaloosa. You went back, I'm sure you watched the national championship game. What were your big takeaways?
Just how resilient that football team is. They are incredibly resilient with the way they play the game. I mean, it's really something to behold. And, they're built on defense. That's the way they make their living. And boy, oh boy, did they prove it the other night again.
Joe, how hard is it from a backup quarterback that's cold, sitting on the bench, to come out and be able to work that magic like the Tua Tagovailoa was able to do in the second half?
That's one of the most incredible things I've seen, to be able to come out and throw the way he did. And, sometimes if you're young, you just don't know what to be afraid of. And I think he just went in the game and started throwing the ball around and felt like, hey, this is sort of fun. I was a senior in high school a year ago. This is pretty cool. And you could see him having a great time throwing the ball. I was really impressed with the way he threw it, and really impressed with his composure.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible in that special moment. And it's something about those left-handed guys, that spin out of that football. It just looks it's like an artwork. You know what I mean? It's like a masterpiece, the way they throw that football.
The lefties make it look very different. You're absolutely right. That's the funny part of it.
Joe, if I could ask you, when you look back at quarterback development in the college ranks, if there's anything Joe Theismann would change about the quarterback development in the college ranks, what would it be?
If I felt like a kid had the potential to be able to go on to the next level, I would spend some time with him, at least 5 to 7 minutes per practice, and give him a chance to work under center. Give him a chance to work on his footwork, to hand the ball off, to do all the little things that he has to do at the professional level, so that when he gets here, he doesn't feel like it's an alien world.
Let me ask you about Baker Mayfield in your perspective. What do you see in this young man?
I really was impressed with the way he threw the football. I think he's got a nice touch, has a nice delivery, and I really feel like he has a chance. The thing that's tough is when you're 6'1" in this league, it's a little more difficult. So I think, height's going to be an issue, but he certainly has the skills to be able to do what he needs to do.
We're talking to Joe Theismann right now when you talk about legendary quarterback in the National Football League. Joe, when you sit down and you talk about legendary performances, when you talk about coaches like Bill Belichick and Nick Saban, is there anything that you think those guys do different than the coaches? Obviously, you've been around legendary coaches. But these seem to be the two that it's at the top of their game in the current time that we live in. What do you see from your perspective that they do different?
Well, it isn't surprising to me that both of them were, coaches together. They're both great disciplinarians. They both insist on a particular way to play the game, and they both insist on the players, understanding what they're supposed to do. I think Nick has a greater challenge because he has a much more limited time to be able to work with the kids. So, they both insist that they're good students.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Also, I'd love to get your thoughts on playing in the Super Bowl. Tom Brady once again. What do you see from your perspective in Tom Brady and what he's been able to accomplish there?
It's just phenomenal. The way he plays, the level with which he plays at, is just absolutely amazing. I mean, you talk about a guy who's a tireless preparer. He's always given himself a chance to be able to prepare. He's always given himself a chance to be the best he can be, and he influences the people around him.
Yeah, it's really incredible.
It's really special.
But what is that characteristic that he has? I mean, when you look at skill set, obviously his skills are but maybe in certain areas, you hear people talk about hand size, this, that, and the other. I mean, the guy may be the greatest of all time. I mean, is it skill set? Is it just leadership? What is it that separates him?
It isn't one thing. It's his leadership skills, and leadership comes from performance. I mean, if you go out and you perform, people follow you. If you go out and say something and you don't perform, people don't say anything. I mean, they just, it's like, okay, fine. That's what you said. It's all about performance. It's all about delivering in the clutch. At critical times in the game, you have to be able to deliver. Those are the things that I think separate Tom from so many different quarterbacks. And there are a lot of great ones, but those are the things that really separate him from other people.
Joe, is that when you look back, you talk about being that leader and everybody buying into it? Maybe that was the one thing about the freshman quarterback here in Tuscaloosa was when he came in at halftime and was presented the challenge of, being down 13-0, lead his team back. Nick Saban called it a spark on the offensive side of the football, but it was that guy, it was the confidence that team had around him going, hey, this guy can get us back in this football game.
Well, the thing is Jalen's a nice runner, but he can't throw the football very well. And, as I watched that football game, it says Alabama will lose this championship the way they did last year if they can't figure out a way to throw the football. And that's exactly what happened. When Nick made the change, he put somebody in who has the ability to throw the football. And I think that's very special. When you have that kind of ability to be able to throw the football, it opens things up. But I will say this, and correct me if I'm wrong, because this was my observation. The pass that the young man threw that wound up tying the game, I don't believe was intended for the receiver that caught it. I think he was throwing the ball to the guy in the back of the end zone, and it just so happened that things worked out very well for him.
I think you're 100% correct. It was sometimes you got to be lucky, right?
Hey, I'd rather be lucky sometimes than good, trust me.
Let me go back to Jalen Hurts here for just a couple of minutes. Do you think that he can improve, or are these just quarterback instincts that maybe he lacks?
I think he can improve. It depends on how hard he wants to work and the way he applies himself. I think those are important things that you have to look at and consider. But from my perspective, I think he can improve. I think he certainly has. At times, he throws the ball very well. Other times, he gets a little out of whack.
Well, let me ask you, in quarterback competition, it's always healthy to have competition, but, obviously the guy that's behind you may have a better arm. He may be more talented. He's younger. How does that quarterback competition maybe affect your confidence if you're the number one guy, but you see the guy behind you going, man, this guy's dropping dimes all over the practice field? How can that affect a first-string quarterback?
Well, I think the big thing is, first of all, you can't be affected by what other people do. You have to be able to go out and improve your skill set. You have to be the one that has to go out and play better. You're the one that has to go out and spend the time to work on it by yourself. At the college level, unfortunately, the kids don't really get an opportunity to be able to have the coaches work with them over a long enough period of time where they can develop the skill set that they really need.
Joe, let me ask you, when you look at Jalen Hurts, I've said it a couple of times that I think that he may not be able to play NFL quarterback the next level. And obviously I'm just an amateur. I'm an analyst, talk radio guy. You're a guy that's a legendary quarterback. Do you see the skill set that can be transferable to the NFL? Do you see Jalen Hurts being an NFL quarterback?
Not unless he throws the football better than he has over the last couple of years. It's going to have to be a major improvement in his skill set to be able to throw the football. Then I think he might have a chance. But right now, I would say no.
Joe, the one thing that I love about quarterbacks, and Bruce Feldman wrote it in his book, The Making of a Quarterback. We see the beautiful throws. We see the things that happens in a game, but we don't see the hard work. And I know every position has a skill set and a craft that they've got to work for. But quarterbacks, man, you guys just work tirelessly during the offseason to iron out your craft, and you work with all these quarterback coaches, to create more velocity or whatever. You're trying to adjust. Somebody looks at your mechanics and say, I'm going to tweak just a little bit here, and I'm going to get you more spin on the football or whatever. But you guys just really are dedicated to improving it in the amount of time you guys spend and getting better.
Well, I think every position does that. I think everybody dedicates themselves to trying to be the best they can possibly be and be able to go out and improve themselves in so many different ways. To me, it's not just the quarterback position. I can say that. It's a lot of, every position goes at it very hard that way.
Final question, Joe, is you are a guy that goes out and talks in front of big groups. What football story do you talk to the common Joes, the guys that maybe not a football player, maybe not an athlete, but you use the game of football to apply to everyday life and motivate them to be better people?
Well, for me, it was, after I broke my leg, I had received so many awards and I had accomplished so much in my life that I really felt like, you know, I was a sort of an ego out of control. It was all about me. It was about what I could get. It was all about the things that I wanted in my life. And after my leg was broken, what I thought was very important to me was taken away from me, the game of football. And what happened ultimately then is I had to be able to take a look at myself and say, what kind of person do you really want to be? What kind of human being do you want to be? You know, is it all about the world of sports for you? Is it all about one thing, or is it about people relationships? And that's what I try and share with people.